This 4 o'clock, why don't we call our regular meeting of the Darien Police Commission, call it to order. We have a quorum, even though we have 2 of the 3 commissioners here, only 2 of the 3 commissioners here, we do have a quorum, so we can in fact call it to order. So the 2,380th meeting of the Darien Police Department will commence now. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of October 9th and October 16th?
Motion to approve.
I second it. All in favor? Aye. And we do have some nice correspondence here from Janice Marzano.
Yes, we do. She forwarded through a letter of appreciation for cops and kids. Lieutenant Hedema, Lieutenant White, Officers Brown, Martin, Eric, and DeSantos all participated at the Empower Leadership zip lining. They took 16 middle schools. And she forwarded through a letter of appreciation from a mom here in Darien whose child was with us and had a wonderful time. So again, the Cops and Kids Adventures series continues to be a highly regarded, well-run, good endeavor as the officers interact with the youth in our community. We do get these letters of appreciation on a regular basis, and this time was no different, and our officers did a fine job.
Yes, I would second that. In terms of community outreach, this is one of the better programs we have, and it's just continues to feed on itself successfully.
Yes, indeed.
So off to department activity. Captain, you can lead us through that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's another long one.
Oh, boy.
This is the activity report from October 8th through November 5th, which was yesterday. October 10th, a 32-year-old Milford man turned himself in after learning there was a warrant for his arrest. The warrant was issued in connection to a single-car accident he was involved in which the vehicle he was operating struck a stone wall on August 5th at approximately 1:30 a.m. The man was charged with DWI and improper turn. On October 13th, 34-year-old Darien woman was arrested for 2 counts of leaving a child under the age of 12 unsupervised after 2 children she was watching, ages 3 and 8, were located unattended 2 blocks from her home near Busy Road. On October 20th, approximately 3 p.m., a 19-year-old Darien man was arrested for his involvement in a domestic violence incident at his residence on West Avenue. On October 20th, approximately 11:15 p.m., a 32-year-old Stanford man was arrested for DWI and failed to obey a stop sign after the vehicle he was operating was involved in a 1-car accident at the intersection of Camp Ave and Hollow Tree Ridge Road. On October 21st, the department welcomed its newest officer, Matthew Ackerman. Officer Ackerman came to us from the Stratford Police Department, where he has worked as a police officer for the past 7 years. Initial reports are that Officer Ackerman is doing extremely well with the modified field training program he's in. On October 31st, approximately 8:45 a.m., officers received a report of a residential burglary at a Searles Road home. The incident was reported by the caretaker, who indicated that the house had been unoccupied for 2 weeks. On October 29th, at approximately 3:30 p.m., a traffic stop for license plate violation led to multiple arrests. The operator, a 22-year-old Hartford woman, was arrested for several narcotics charges, as well as an active warrant for failing to appear in court. One of the passengers in her vehicle, a 21-year-old Stanford man, was also arrested for narcotics charges. On October 2nd, officers responded to a medical-related call at a Post Road residence of a 64-year-old Darien man. Due to the nature of the ensuing investigation, detectives applied for and were granted a search warrant. During the execution of the warrant, several prop and facsimile type firearms, as well as BB and pellet guns, were located. The resident, who was a convicted felon, is statutorily prohibited from possessing any of these items. Arrest warrant was applied for and granted, and he turned himself in on October 31st. Also on October 31st, a 23-year-old Bridgeport man turned himself in after learning there was a warrant for his arrest. The arrest stemmed from a mail theft incident in which the suspect was involved in March of 2019. He's facing larceny and identity theft charges, and this extensive investigation was conducted both by the Patrol Division and the Detective Division. Again, on the 31st, the Darien Police Department was recognized by AAA Northeast and presented with the Gold Award for achievement in traffic safety and the ongoing commitment to educating and protecting the citizens of our community. This is the 2nd year in a row that we've been presented with this award. November 3rd, a 28-year-old Bridgeport man turned himself in after learning there was a warrant for his arrest. The warrant was issued in connection to a September 20th accident he was involved in, which the vehicle he was operating crossed the double yellow line on the Post Road and struck a second vehicle head-on at approximately 5:30 p.m. The man was charged with DWI, failed to drive right, and failure to have insurance. Since October 28th, we've received reports of 5 stolen cars in which the keys were in the vehicles. 2 of the 5 vehicles have since been recovered. 4 of the 5 vehicles were stolen during the early morning hours of November 4th. Since October 24th, we've received reports of 29 car burglaries of unlocked vehicles at various locations through town. Most of these took place during the early morning hours of October 30th and November 4th. Within the same time period, back to October 8th, Patrol Division conducted 404 traffic stops and issued 103 infractions. And then real quick, and lastly, the accidents during that same time period. We had 31 motor vehicle accidents since October 8th. 5 involved minor injuries. 1 involved pedestrian. And a majority of these accidents took place on Route 1.
Thank you, Captain. So once again, the thing that jumps off the page at this is 5 stolen cars, all of them had keys in it,
Correct.
and 29 car break-ins, all of which were unlocked cars, all of which leads to a raft of paperwork for the department. So if we could suggest anything to the community, that they take better care of buttoning up their vehicles.
Of course.
We have been on our soapbox for unlocked vehicles for quite some time. 10 years ago, we had decals on our car encouraging people to lock their cars. And 10 years later, we have 30 car thefts and car entries, and not a single one of them were broken into.
Amazing.
In one of these cases, there's items of value in these cars, and let's face it, folks, the word gets out that Darien has nice cars and nice stuff.
And it's easy pickings.
It's easy pickings and we do on a regular basis, as the commissioners know, and the public probably knows if they watch these meetings, we catch a good quantity of these kids, and they're usually kids, 16 or 17 years old. The cars, by and large, show up, unscathed. They're not totaled, they're not stripped, but they show up in Waterbury or Bridgeport or Cheshire or New Haven. I'm not sure what more we can do here. Protection of property especially is a joint effort between the public and the police. I think the police department largely, we're trying to hold up our end. We have cars taken from Avalon this weekend. There's cars stolen from Avalon that are in the parking lot with the keys in. Now, if that's not asking for trouble, I'm not sure what is. And we have been very proactive, and I'll hop up on my stump again as a PSA, and the public has to help us protect their own property. The onus mostly is on you as the property owner to protect your property with our assistance and not the other way around.
No, that's very well said.
A lot of times the cars are being taken 30 or 40 feet away from where the resident is sleeping. Well, if you didn't hear the car being stolen 30 or 40 feet away from where you're sleeping, unless an officer just happens to be on your street at the time it happens, very difficult.
Nobody's going to catch it.
So, we will keep making our best effort, but again, we're asking the public to please, please, please protect your own property and help us help you.
Very well said, Chief. Thank you. Looks like there was a notable traffic stop in town with K9 County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I quickly touched on it in the activity report, but Officer Leslie Silva with her partner K9 Kenny conducted a traffic stop for a license plate violation.
It's in your packet as well.
After questioning the occupants and using K9 Kenny to assist in the detection of narcotics, 3 occupants were arrested on 12 different charges ranging from misdemeanor motor vehicle charges to felony narcotic charges. 2 of the 3 occupants had significant criminal backgrounds, and the third had what we call a prong arrest or a rearrest warrant, as well as a history of failing to appear in court. I believe Officer Silva should be commended for her initiative and the way she conducted the ensuing investigation, which resulted in significant felony arrests. Several other officers that were working that shift also participated in the follow-up investigation and processing, and it was a great team effort.
Well done. That's terrific. Chief, you have a report from the police chief's conference?
Well, I attended last week the International Association of Chiefs of Police conference. It was my first conference attending as chief. And obviously the Chiefs of Police International does it very well in Chicago.
This is the one in Chicago. Was the president
With
there?
the president. And I would just like to say that again, a lot of people have heard me say how appreciative I am that the town funds attendance at these professional conferences, this one in the National Academy for the FBI. These are truly the worldwide movers and shakers in law enforcement and people on the cutting edge. I don't know how many conferences you can go to where you're hearing from the President of the United States, the Attorney General, the Director of the FBI, the Superintendent of Chicago Police, and the Chiefs of Police from New York, Houston, LA. These are everyone that's anyone in law enforcement across the globe is typically at this conference. The level of training that they offer, the only downside is there's so many good training classes,
Yeah.
they have to run them simultaneously that you can't get to all the ones you really want to get to.
Yeah.
So I just want to go on record again, thanking the town and the commission for their support of funding these conferences. Clearly, they're of benefit, not just to the officers who attend personally, but bringing back quality ideas and cutting-edge technology and ways to do business. So I just want to say thank you.
That's great. Time well spent. That's great. So on a totally different note, a little more mundane, starting the budget for next year.
The years go by quick. It's budget preparation time. We haven't really got too much direction from the town hall as of yet as what they might be looking for budget-wise, or constraints, or where we're headed. But as usual, the staff here, we will craft a reasonable and progressive budget where we'll be able to do our work and do it with, in budget and on time. Bob Shredders, who's not here today, he's going to be kind of taking the lion's share of budget prep that I used to do. So I'm going to show him the ins and outs to get this done. I think we've always crafted a very viable budget, and we're not going to be asking for anything out of the ordinary or outlandish. Really, the only thing really that might be different than years past is we still have building issues that we need to address from capital expenditure purposes. So we'll be probably asking for some building capital to get this building back and running, specifically the HVAC system.
Things like HVAC, et cetera.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're working very closely with the DPW director to get this done properly. So I'm hoping next year at this time, we will be reporting a building that is running efficiently and consistently, where officers are not wearing coats to eat their dinner or
sweating while
or
they're
sweating, right.
walking down the hallway.
We are making good steps forward to identifying the issues and getting them resolved once and for all. So moving forward, we will not have these issues.
Great.
And I think we'll be able to get that done.
Great, thank you. So off of department activity onto old business, entry-level hiring, an update?
Well, as the commission knows, we had 6 candidates that went forward from the commission and further in the hiring process. Out of those 6 candidates now, 3 candidates did not make it out of the background of polygraph phase. So we have 3 viable candidates on our current list that are still.
Chief, sorry, did those other 3 go through the polygraph?
You mean the 3 remaining?
The 3 remaining. So
three-
all 6 went through
The 3
pre-hire?
the 3 remaining now are going through the polygraph process.
So they have not gone through it
They
yet?
have not. One of the candidates, I don't think will be going through the polygraph process because we received the polygraph report from another agency who was potentially looking to hire him. Based on that polygraph, which was a recent polygraph, he would not be a viable candidate here for us.
So we'd be down to 2.
We're down to 2 candidates, 3, but most likely it's going to be 2. We have one that's well along in the process, the psychological phase, and we believe that candidate will be successful, and we think we can get one of the other candidates to be successful. Again, as the commission knows, we can be highly selective here in the people that we choose. We get good quality candidates who come here and sit at this table and give a great presentation, but we go through their background with a fine-tooth comb, and we can be selective to ensure that we are getting a 100% professional, ready-to-go officer. And if there's questions, I'm not willing, and I know this commission is not willing, to take a chance on someone that is clearly that we are not 100% behind.
Right.
Fair and balanced process, and the chips fall where they may when we delve into the background.
Right, we don't intend to compromise here.
Right.
Chief, just so out of the 6, we hope and expect to get 2,
Mhm.
right? And I don't think we went any deeper on the list. Would that mean that we would have to open up a test again, or would we go on the
Yeah.
existing list?
I wish Captain Shredders was here. I think based on our interview of the candidates, those 6 that we sent to the commission were the 6 that we were comfortable with sending forward. I think we would be enjoining a new test process.
How long does that take to execute and implement?
At least a minimum of 2 months. So we are hoping to have 2 viable candidates ready to go to the police academy in mid-January.
And then would it make sense at the beginning of the year to open up the test again, even if we don't necessarily have a opening?
Yeah, the chip testing is only good for a certain amount of time. So I think if we got 2 candidates into the academy, I think we would probably wait until we had some inkling that another opening would be coming up and do the test at that point.
Got it.
Usually, if someone decides they're going to retire, we kind of get wind of it a little
Yeah.
bit, and so we have time to do that.
Got it. Okay.
Thanks, Chief. On to the final major agenda item is new business. One of our favorites, traffic
Traffic
issues.
issues. I put this one on pedestrians' rights and responsibilities. We do have some pedestrian accidents. We've had some as of late, and a couple of them, one including today, we just had one today, where a pedestrian gets bumped by a car either pulling out of a parking spot or backing out of a parking spot. Right? Pedestrians do have to be reminded that they have rights, they have responsibilities to not be crossing the street, not at a crosswalk. And I've said this time and time again, Connecticut does not have a jaywalking statute. New York does. Technically, if you cross mid-block in New York, you are committing an offense. Connecticut, by statute, does not have that on the books. But it does say if you're crossing the street anywhere else but a crosswalk, you have to yield to all vehicles. Puts the onus on the pedestrian. Let's set aside kids for a minute. Now, we know kids, but adults really have to ensure that they are exercising due diligence when they're crossing the street or they're walking behind cars that may back out. We really don't like pedestrian accidents. We try to keep them to an absolute minimum. Just want to remind pedestrians that they do have some responsibility. One of our spots is like at Leroy West, where commuters are crossing Leroy Avenue to get to the train station. Now, I come that way every morning virtually. The law does not allow the pedestrian to not break stride and simply to walk out in front of a car that's coming down Leroy Avenue, where there's a shared responsibility there. If you see someone approaching the crosswalk, I stop if I can, if I'm not going to get rear-ended. But the statute says that you have to stop to someone that is in the crosswalk, not approaching the crosswalk. Pedestrians have to remember that they have to, especially now that it's dark in the morning, and dark at night when they're getting back. That was all I really wanted to say on that. It's a shared responsibility. We're trying to not have people get hit of any age at any spot.
Anywhere. Thank you. White Street?
Hoyt Street, Route 106, milling and repaving of the southbound lane from the New Canaan line down to Greenwood Avenue is underway. It began Sunday evening. I spoke with the contractors this afternoon who stated that they are ahead of schedule a little bit, which is good news. The DOT has implemented a process of what they call a mill and fill, and it's kind of unusual that they're milling, cleaning the street twice, sealing, and then paving all in one shot. So it creates quite the lengthy construction zone, and they're requesting our officers to assist with them during the evening hours and early morning hours. However, it's a long shift, and we've been having some tough times getting proper staff up there, but they are hiring extra flag personnel up there to assist with traffic, which is pretty light during those times. However, we are asking the cooperation of the residents and the motoring public in that area for the next week and a half, I'd say, and they should have that cleaned up.
Captain, if you can't find an officer for the detail, does the contractor then have to fill it with flag people?
It's unique, this job, because it's a state job, so they have to provide traffic direction. However, they don't need to use us first in this particular case. The town ordinance normally would require a contractor to give us the right of first refusal. So in this particular case, they don't have to operate with police officers from the Darien Police Department. They can use their own traffic personnel. However, they would much rather prefer our officers be up there with marked police cars.
And radios.
So we're working with them there.
Just so, as a point of, of the ordinance, so everyone knows, our town ordinance for state jobs and for town jobs do not require traffic control services to be provided by the Town of Darien Police Department. However, the ordinance is very clear that effective traffic control must be provided. So if the state comes in and does a job, the state has to provide effective traffic control. And ultimately, that would fall to either the captain or myself. If we got a job that was clearly unsafe, even a state job, it's going to be shut down until such time as it can be made safe. So, and it's very rare that the state allows any type of overnight work in residential areas, but the unique nature of Hoyt Street, the way it is, and what we had when they were doing the daytime work last year and the year before, and we had backups all day, that they relented and allowed just to get it done, to get it milled, to get it paved, and to move on, so.
If it goes according to schedule, it'll be done by Thanksgiving.
Probably the week before. We're hoping maybe Thursday of next week, but they are ahead of schedule. If the weather cooperates, I think we hit that point, or maybe even a little bit earlier.
Great, good news. And we have a couple requests from the association.
So since 2010, we've, the police association has gotten the approval from the police commission. The police commission's relaxed the grooming standards. For men, we've been able to grow facial hair as long as we paid $50 per month, and women were able to wear earrings. Since this last contract has been signed, we can now do that. The guys don't have to pay in order to grow their facial hair, wear earrings. So we still want to continue to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and we thought of an idea of how we can potentially do that this year. We wanted to see if we raised a certain amount of money. When I was speaking with the chief, we agreed on $5,000. Obviously, we're hoping to get much more than that, but that would be our threshold. And if we raise that much in November and December, we hope that the chief would grow facial hair for the month of January. We thought it would be a fun idea. Everybody knows the chief around town. I don't think anybody's seen him with facial hair, maybe his wife. I don't know.
I was going to
Not
say,
my
we
wife.
have to convince Mrs. Anderson to sign off on that one.
It's a tough sell.
So a gauntlet has been thrown down.
Right. So again, this would go towards the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, specifically Jenna's team, which is the daughter of Officer Mike Dos Santos. His daughter was diagnosed with a form of leukemia at a young age. She went through treatment for, I believe, 2.5 years, and now she's 12 or 13, and I believe in remission.
Well, that part of the story is wonderful. Good
Yeah.
news.
Chief,
Chief, what do we think?
I have agreed with the commission that they will raise $5,000 for the Leukemia Society. And just as a side note, my father-in-law, who was a big, burly Union Pacific Railway engineer in Wyoming, died as a young man of leukemia. I will grow a beard against my wife's wishes and better judgment for 30 days if they can raise $5,000 for this worthy cause.
Your wife probably has company on that topic, but it certainly seems like a noble cause.
I am not a beard fan. I'm not certainly not going to be a ZZ Top beard within 30 days, but I will, for a good cause like this, I will, suck it up and I will do that. I think it's a good cause.
I hope we don't need to make a motion on this. It seems like it's a pretty straightforward
Chris,
decision.
what kind of fundraising do you do in asking people for donations?
So this year is going to be unique because it was always just the police officers. We're still going to do that, but I'd like to do a press release from the police association, just making them aware of this, that the chief, someone that I'm sure a lot of people around town know, may actually want to see him with a beard as well. Maybe other town employees, firemen, places that he may frequent, delis, gas stations. So we're just hoping to get the community involved as well and try to raise as much money as we possibly can for this.
Fair enough.
It's borderline genius. It's fucking genius.
Can't say no, right?
I don't see how
This
one
will
could.
probably be a one-time event. I don't see me coming back for a return again.
It's January 2021, 2022. That sounds wonderful. And it looks like there's another request for the holiday party.
There is. So we recently became aware, I don't think many people knew of the gift fund, I certainly didn't. So Detective Capelli and Lieutenant Hedema are putting together our Darien Police Association holiday party. With the increasing civilian staff, retirees, more sworn personnel, there's an increased cost with throwing the party. So in order to defer the cost, we wanted to request a certain amount from the gift fund. They put on here between $500 and $1,500. I don't know if I need to specify a certain amount,
I would say not to exceed.
not to exceed $1,500. But this would go toward, we're gonna have the party at the Norwalk in December.
And for someone who might be watching, the gift fund certainly was set up. The gifts come in for the police department. Everyone has to know that, you know, officers working cannot accept any gratuities, cannot accept any tips. But if someone sends something in and says, Officer Jimenez changed my tire or went and got gas for me, and they send something in, the money goes to the gift fund. It is certainly set up for the betterment and good and welfare of the officers here. Up to $1,500 will be actually a fairly small part of this funding for this party. The officers that will go also, you know, they don't go gratis. There's a charge for the officers that go. I fully support their request to,
So why don't we just make sure we have a proper protocol here, so Kevin probably should get a motion on this.
Yeah, so I have a motion for a fundraiser for leukemia and a motion for gift fund up to $1,500 for the holiday party in December.
I'll second that, which by definition makes it unanimous. Perfect. Thank you. So at this point, we have covered the agenda for regular meeting 2,380. Is there any other business? Since there is no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.